What's going on, guys? I hope everyone's having a great day. I apologize if you hear dogs barking. My neighbors, they have these big, aggressive, mean dogs that do nothing but bark all goddamn day, and the domino effect falls on me because then it gets my dogs all wound up. And my dogs don't ever bark unless they're provoked by these fucking asshats out here. I'm talking about the dogs. And it's just really annoying, but it's something we're just gonna have to deal with. So, got a Labatt Blue here. It's a Canadian beer. A very good one, might I add, because I'm a Canadian-American myself. Most of my family is Canadian. Pretty much all of my family lives in Canada, and I have dual citizenship. And the only thing really American about me is the fact that I was born here. I don't act like your stereotypical American or anything like that in person off this camera. But, yeah, I am a Canadian-American. I bet you guys didn't know that. I'm all done with that anyway, so it's all out. So, tonight we're taking a look at a 2018 thriller film, that being The Clove Hitch Killer, starring Dylan McDermott. And Dylan McDermott has always been an actor that I have liked pretty well. He was in, what was it, Hamburger Hill, which probably is the most underrated war film ever, in my personal opinion. It's such a great film that nobody ever talks about. And he was also the dad in probably my favorite coming-of-age film, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. Which is another great film. But The Clove Hitch Killer is a really different role for Dylan McDermott. I've never really seen him play this kind of character. So I'm going to go ahead and forewarn people that this is going to be spoiler-filled, so if you haven't seen The Clove Hitch Killer, go watch, or turn this video off, go watch it, and then come back. Or if you have seen it, or you just don't care about spoilers, stick around. So, I'm going to give you guys some time to click off, so that way you guys can't get mad at me if I spoil anything. Sip of my water. Alright, I've given you guys plenty of time to click off. So, our story here is about a town that has a serial killer who has been retired for about 9-10 years at the most. I think that's what they said, around that, in that ballpark somewhere. And the movie is really focused around this family, to be more specific, the teenage son. And they're a really religious family, and they're by the books, Christian. They go to church. The dad is the leader of this Boy Scouts, this Christian Boy Scouts club and whatnot. And they're very, like I said, very involved with the church. And the teenage son is out with his girlfriend, some girl, and they're making out in the car, yada yada. They want to get it on in the car. And when the girl goes to recline the seat, she finds a picture of a chick who is in bondage attire. And this rumor spreads that the teenage son is a pervert and he's into all this bondage shit, when it really belongs to the dad. And more things start happening that raises some eyebrows at Dylan McDermott's character. And the teenage son does eventually start to suspect that his father might just be the Clove Hitch Killer, because he has this shed that nobody's ever allowed to go in, and all this. And I want to go ahead and say that it is a really, really, really well done thriller film, and I actually genuinely loved the film. I thought that there was a sense of dread throughout the entire film, the way it's presented and the way it's shot. It's just a very eerie film. And there's nothing goofy in this movie or anything like that. It's not very bloody either, might I add. It's a very psychologically driven thriller. It'll fuck with your mind a little bit. And so I'll go along with the story a little bit more. He starts kind of suspecting that his dad could be the Clove Hitch Killer. So he finds this girl that's all the time hanging out outside the church, and the church has kind of painted this picture of her that she's a slut and she's trash and she's beneath them, but really she's not that. she's actually real into this true crime stuff, and she's kind of on this quest to find out who the Clove Hitch killer is. And the whole reason he befriends her is because he thinks she can help him find out if his dad is really the Clove Hitch killer, because he suspects it. And he goes into his father's shed and he finds this box underneath the floorboards, right? And it's got these girls in bondage, and they're naked and bondage attire and whatnot. And at the very bottom of the stack, there's a picture of a dead girl. And that pretty much solidifies his gut instinct. My dad's the Clove Hitch killer, or is some kind of killer. And he, like I said, this movie's still fucking with me mentally a little bit, but they go out, the dad takes him out on this little camping hunting trip. And he tries to blow smoke up his son's ass and say that all that stuff that he found, the bondage pictures and the driver's licenses of the people that were involved with the Clove Hitch the people that were murdered in the Clove Hitch killings, none of that belonged to him, but his crippled brother in a wheelchair. And that's pretty sick to put the blame on him. But he says that he's been covering for him and that he's been contemplating turning him in, trying to paint himself as kind of the hero. So they go home and burn all the evidence and whatnot because he doesn't want to get his crippled brother in trouble, doesn't want to turn him into the police or anything. So time kind of goes on. This teenage son here starts, he's like, nah, I don't think my dad really, my dad told me he's not the Clove Hitch killer. But there is one thing that still doesn't make sense here. Is that when he looked in that box, what he also found was this blueprint to this sexual torture chamber underneath his house in the crawl space. And the girl that he befriends that's into all the true crime stuff brings this up. But he's trying to pass it off as just a fantasy, that's not real. Okay, fair enough. For now. So when the son goes on this, he supposedly goes, and he's still not totally convinced that his father's not the Clove Hitch killer. But he goes on this Boy Scout trip. And the mom and the guy's wife and his daughter, they take off, do whatever. I can't remember what it was they were even doing in the film. It's not important. We soon find out that Mr. Father here is into cross-dressing and is into bondage and masochism, and puts on a mask with a wig and a dress and starts taking pictures of himself with a noose tied around his neck, hanging from the fucking wall, or the ceiling. Not the wall, the ceiling. It's really, 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 really disturbing that it's a man who's getting sexual pleasure from this just really, really weird and disturbing act. But then he's interrupted by the teenage son's new friend who's into all the stuff. Yeah, I don't need to say that anymore. I don't remember any of the characters' names. I'm bad with characters' names. But this is when we find out how sadistic Dylan McDermott's character really is, and that he stalks a woman at the grocery store and eventually does his Clove Hitch killer shit on her. But it is interrupted by the son and a sniper rifle, because him and the daughter, they do all this investigating. They start going to places that people were murdered at, the residents of the victims' houses, or not the resident of the victims' houses, the victims' houses, the fucking empty, abandoned houses that they used to live in, and they're trying to find, because the Clove Hitch killer is known to go to people's houses and kill them, and stalk them, and stalks them, go to their house, kill them, yada yada. And then they start trying to piece all these pieces of the puzzle together to finally, eventually confirm his suspicion that his father is the Clove Hitch killer. And he was right, His father was the Clovehitch killer. All of this religious bullshit was just smoke blowing up everybody's ass. It's all smoke and mirrors. It's a facade. That's not who he really is. He's this really sadistic human being. And I guess, I don't know, he adopted this lifestyle to have fingers pointing away from him instead of at him. And that's pretty much the story here. And it was really disturbing. But it was a very well shot, well directed, and even well acted film. It was a film that I would probably, if I could go back to 2018, this would probably be in my top 3 films of that year. My number 1 film of 2018 was Hereditary, because I thought that film was just brilliant. But this probably could have given Hereditary a run for its money, because while Hereditary was really sick and disturbing, this movie, what I think I liked the most about this film and its style is that it's subtle. It's not in your face disturbing. Because when it starts getting too much in your face, it starts to lose its effect a little bit. Because you take a concept, if you do it that way, you take a concept that's sick and disturbing and you make it mundane. But the subtlety in this film, there's no blood, there's no gore, there's no anything. It's just a very well-crafted, subtle thriller. And that's why I loved The Clovehitch Killer. Its subtlety is its weapon, essentially. Like, the film is so subtle, but it's not beating you over the head, but you're not, how do I put this? You're not asking yourself, like, what the fuck's going on here? This isn't telling me anything. It's telling you everything. It's just not beating you over the head with it. And it's a very slow film, too, but it's not boring. The film is literally like an hour and 45 minutes. It literally feels like it's an hour long. Because it's very well paced. It's very well written. It's just a very, very clever film. And I think that it's one that everybody should see if you're into that kind of stuff. I don't think it's one that... I wouldn't recommend this to my grandmother, who's a very, very devout Catholic. I would recommend this to anybody. Like, I recommended this to my mom, and she really liked it too. She is into those kind of thrillers as well. But this was really a great thriller film, man. Like I said, if I'd saw this film in 2018, I probably would have put this in my top 3 films of that year. And it sucks that I missed out on it, but hey, I finally seen it, and I'm glad I did. I might even just watch it again tonight. I thought it was that good. But did you guys see The Clovehitch Killer? Let me guys know if you did, if you liked it, if you didn't. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button. Thank you guys for watching, and I'm out. Peace.